Close your eyes, turn your attention inwards, bring your awareness to your breath. Three long, slow breaths deep into your belly. And as usual, we'll open with 3 ohms. So exhale, inhale, Om. Inhale, Om. Inhale, Open your eyes, release your hands. My sentence of the day is, from surviving to thriving. I was out in my garden this afternoon and I was doing a number of different jobs, and one of them being planting some onions. So we were digging the beds, putting a little bit of manure on them, raking them off, and then planting the little small onion sets. And it will be several months before we'll see a reward for that work. And I just got to thinking, here we are, we're down to the essentials, to the basics of life, to where life is at its simplest form. We're growing food for ourselves and those around us. And in these difficult times, it is challenging to see how we can thrive in the situation that we all find ourselves in. So gardening may not be your thing, food growing may not be your thing. However, see if you can find something, and when you come out of this time, you will be able to look back in this time and say, that would not have happened, only we had to take a forced time of rest, of quiet. The world had to come to a halt. So see what's around you and see what you can get involved in. What can you get up to within your own home? And should it be growing vegetables or growing fruit? Brilliant, but there are many, many other things that you can also be at. So make this a time of thriving. Thrive in your life, thrive in your yoga practice, and thrive in your families and community. So without any further ado, come onto your hands and knees. And from here, make your way up into down dog. Hands widen shoulders, tops of your feet on the floor, turn your toes under, lift your hips up, grip the floor with your fingertips, externally rotate your upper arms, and look at a point between your thumbs. And if you wish, bring your dog for a walk by bending one knee deeply and pressing into the heel of the opposite leg, foot. Moving with your breath. Coming back to a place of stillness. Float forward into plank, float your shoulders over your wrists, lift your head, look up. Squeeze your ankles together, engage your core. No belly flop planks, keep the hips nice and bright. From here, back into down dog, and then lift your right foot and invite it to come forward. Place it, line up your fingernails with your toenails. Move your hands to the big toe side of your front foot. Move your front foot out to the long edge of your mat. Walk your hands forward, allow your head to drop. Look back at your back foot, back heel vertical over toes.
And instead of just surviving in your yoga practice, find poses you can actually thrive in and grow. And switch legs. Right foot back, left foot forward, bring it to the long edge of your mat, line up with your fingernails with your toenails, allow your head to drop. Lift the back of your back heel up to vertical. Step back to down dog, hands wider than shoulders, grip the floor with your fingertips. Lift your hips high, invite your heels to come towards the floor. Melt your heart. And lower all the way to the floor, come down into locust one. Stretch your legs out behind you. Arms by your sides, turn your palms up. Squeeze your heels together. Lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Invite your shoulder blades to come onto their back. Press the backs of your hands into the floor. From here, place your arms in cobra arms, so it's halfway down your rib cage until your forearms are vertical. Lift your chest, squeeze your shoulder blades together down your back. From here, moving into plank pose, come onto your hands and knees. Float your shoulders over your wrists, lift your head, look up. Lower gently to the floor, coming into full locust, arms by your sides, stretch your legs out, inhale, lift everything off the floor, squeeze your legs together, inhale, lift your arms up, turn your thumbs up, lift your head and shoulders, lift your arms even higher, bring your hands closer together. And release down, and from here coming into cobra with legs lifted. Place your hands by your ribs, forearms vertical, invite your shoulder blades to come onto the back. Inhale, lift your head and shoulders off the floor, lift your legs off the floor. Come through the gateway of your arms. And release down. From here, move into down dog. Press down with your hands, come onto your knees, turn your toes under, lift your hips up. Hands wider than shoulders, grip the floor with your fingertips, externally rotate your upper arms. Invite your heels to come to the floor. Walk your hands to your feet. Stand at the back of your mat, coming into a high lunge. Place your hands on your hips. Lift your chest, stretch your spine. Broaden across your collarbones. Squeeze your elbows back. Inhale, step forward with attitude and intention with your right foot. Lift your back heel off the floor, torso upright. Stretch your front knee away from your back heel, engage your core, look up. And switch to the back of the mat. Turn your right foot in, turn your left foot out. Bend your left knee, lift your back heel off the floor. Torso upright. sinking down even more. Lift the back of your back knee up, look up. Press down, stand up and switch again to the centre of your mat. Step your feet together. Moving into power pose, hands bound. Clasp your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. Bend your elbows enough to allow your thumbs to come onto the small of your back. Stretch your spine up. Bend your knees, round your back. Bring your forehead to your knees. Lift your arms off your back. Sit back in your throne. More doable, wrists apart. More difficult, wrists together. Inhale, press down, stand up. Coming into the Dasana, feet inner hip width apart. Press down equally with the four corners of your feet into the floor, squeeze your shins in, your thighs, press your tailbone down. Stretch from your hips to your armpits, broaden across your collarbones. Invite your shoulder blades onto your back, move your ears back. And if you wish, close your eyes, turn your attention inwards. Notice all that's arising for you out of awareness. Moving to twisted power pose, step your feet together. Moving into twisted power pose, bend your knees, sink down. Place your left hand on your outside of your left knee. Lift your right arm up and press your knee into your elbow into your knee. Lift your left hand, place on top of your right hand and look towards your feet. Then sit back in your throne. Line up your knees with your hips. Roll your left ribs back, your left shoulder back, and endeavour to have your thumbs parallel to your sternum in an ideal world. Inhale, press down, stand up, bring your hands together, close your eyes, turn in. Notice the sensations in your body. Bend your knees, bring your right hand to the outside of your right knee, press your hand with your knee and place your elbow on the outside of your knee. Place two hands together, one on top of the other, roll your ribs back, your shoulder back, look down towards your feet, line up your hips with your knees and invite your thumbs to parallel to your sternum. Sit back in your throne. And press down and stand up. And close your eyes and feel the sensations again. Coming into some of our favourite poses here at the loft, cosmic abs. Sit down, place your heels in front of your hips, lean back and shift over onto your right hip. Arms out to the left. Start to bicycle your legs up and down, start to bicycle your arms up and down. And really move your upper body. Breathing in and breathing out. Do 5 on one hip. And 5 on the other. And then do it again. And again. And release. Move to staff pose. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Hands by your hips. Feet Together, more difficult, or inner hip width apart, more doable. Press down with the heel of your hands into the floor. Stretch from your hips to under your armpits, broaden across your collarbones, move your ears back. Be as tall as you can possibly be. From here, moving to boat pose, bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips. Stretch your arms out either side of your knees, palms pointing towards each other. Lean back, lift your feet off the floor. Stay here, more doable, more difficult, lift your legs up. Look up. And release back to the floor. Moving into reverse table, place your hands behind you, walk them back 6 or 8 inches, turn your hands out 45 degrees. Separate your feet hip width apart. Inhale, lift your hips up as high as you can. Root down with your hands into the floor, your feet into the floor. Look up towards the ceiling, broaden across your collarbones. Stretch from your hips to under your armpits. Invite your shoulder blades onto your back. Tighten your glutes. And release down. Moving into half boat, stretch your legs out in front of you. Clasp your hands behind your head, interlace your fingers. Lift your chest, stretch your spine, lean back. Bend your knees slightly, inhale, lift them up, look up. And release down. Moving into bridge pose, come and lie on your backs. And today we're going to use a block. If you haven't got a block, a book will do. So take your block, one of these, bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips and slip your block in under your hips and put it at the highest setting that is tolerable for you. So for me, I'm just going to make it a little bit higher. If this is not available for you, don't do it, just do it on a lower. And place it under your sacrum, that's that flat bone at the end of your spine. Feet hip width apart. Turn your palms up, invite your shoulders onto your back, press your head into the floor and just hang out here. And feel how good that feels. It's a very simple pose. And it's the simplicity of this practice that brings us such great joy. Has bring simplicity back into our lives. And being grateful. Been absolutely grateful for this time of newborn simplicity. Press down with your feet, reach under, lift your block out, place it off to one side and move into leg lifts. Clasp your hands behind your head, interlace your fingers. Bring your elbows into the side of your face. Bend your knees, bring your knees into your chest. Inhale, stretch your legs up. Exhale, inhale, lower your legs to the floor. And exhale and bring them back up. If you have a sore back, do with your knees bent or one leg at a time. And see if you can do 2 sets of 5. Endeavouring for your knees to touch off your elbows on each pass. Squeeze your inner heels, your inner shins, your inner thighs. Make a unit of the lower part of your body. bring your feet gently to the floor. Bend your knees, place your heels on the floor in front of your hips, and walk them out to the long edges of the mat and allow your knees to lean in against each other. Then place your hands, palms down on your lower abdomen. Point your thumbs towards your navel. Point your index fingers towards your pubic bone and just relax. From here, make your way to standing. Standing in the middle of your mat, moving into eagle arms. Lift your left arm up, bend your elbow, lift your right arm up, wrap it under the left, squeeze your elbows into your chest into your spine, root down with the four corners of both feet into the floor and move your ears back. Lift your gaze and drop into the simplicity of this pose. Right here, right now, nowhere else to be. Switch to the other side. Lift your right arm up, bend your elbow, lift your left arm up and wrap it underneath. Take the double wrap if you can. If you're not able to take the double wrap with your arms, bring back of hand to back of hand. And congratulate yourself for being on your mat doing this practice. Perhaps if this never had happened, you may not be doing this at this time of the day, right here, right now. And release. Walk to the back of your mat, move into high lunge, lift your arms up overhead, hands shoulder width apart, point palms towards each other. Inhale, lift your step forward with your right foot, lift your back heel off the floor. Lift your chest, stretch your spine, lift your gaze, sink down. Front shin vertical, thigh parallel. Lift the back of your back knee up towards the ceiling. And release. And switch to the other end of the mat by turning your right foot in, your left foot all the way around. Bend your left knee, lower down, lift your arms overhead, hands shoulder width apart, point palms in, lift the back of your back knee up, front shin vertical, thigh parallel. And lower your hands to the floor to plank pose. Line up fingernails with toenails. Step left foot back. Float shoulders over wrists. Lift head, look up. Externally rotate your upper arms. Engage your core. Grip the floor with your fingertips. Lower your knees gently to the floor, walk them forward, turn your toes under, sit back on your heels, torso upright, bring hands together in front of you as if in prayer, squeeze big toes together, inner heels, engage your core, broaden across your collarbones, stretch from your hips to under your armpits, lift your gaze. Moving to 8 angle pose, walk your hands forward, walk your knees back. Lower down, lower your chest to the floor, your chin to the floor. Keeping your hips off the floor. Walk your hands back until your forearms are vertical. Roll your shoulders back, invite your shoulder blades onto your back. Keeping your chin on the floor, lift your hips even higher. Engage your core. Moving into topsy-turvy superhero, stretch your legs out in front of you. Stretch your arms out in front of you. Lift your right arm and the opposite leg off the floor. Press the top of the right foot into the floor, lift the right knee off the floor. I'm too near the screen here, so hence I have a fist, but if you can stretch your fingers out, stretch your fingers out. Press the outside edge of your left hand into the floor, lift your left elbow off the floor. And over onto the other side. Press the outside edge of your right hand onto the floor, lift your left hand and the opposite leg off the floor. Lift your gaze. Press your left foot into the floor, lift your knee off the floor. Press the outside edge of your right hand into the floor, lift your elbow. Reaching forward, stretching back. And release. Bring your hands together under your head. Allow your forehead to come down onto the tops of your hands. And just let go. From here, moving into locust one. Arms by your sides, turn your palms up, knees together. Bend your knees, bring your heels into your hips. Press the backs of your hands into the floor. Lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Keep squeezing your heels towards your hips. And release. And moving into cobra. Place your hands in cobra arms, forearms vertical, elbows bent. Squeeze your elbows in towards the side of your body. Coming through the gateway of your arms, press the tops of your feet into the floor, flare your toes. Inhale, lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Keep squeezing your inner heels, your inner shins, your inner thighs towards each other. Lift your torso. Stretch from your hips to under your armpits. Tighten your glutes. And from here, turn your toes under and lift straight up into down dog. Hands wider than shoulders. Grip the floor with your fingers. Externally rotate your upper arms, engage your core. And just feel how good that feels now. Moving to no hand lunge. Step your right foot forward, bring it to the outside of your right hand. Allow your back foot to pivot onto the floor so that your toes are pointed towards the long edge of your mat. Clasp your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. Inhale, allow your head to drop. Stretch your arms up towards the ceiling. More doable, wrists apart. More difficult, wrists together. Press the outside edge of your back foot into the floor. Engage your quad. Be with your breath. Press down, stand up by straightening your front knee. Turn your right foot in, turn your left foot out. Line up your front heel so it bisects the arch of your back foot. Lift your chest, stretch your spine, bend your left knee, sink down. Move your hands onto your lower back so that your elbows are bent. Hinge forward and lift your arms off your backs. Lift them up to vertical or beyond. Press the outside edge of your back foot into the floor, engage your quads. press down and stand up. Moving into warrior two. Turn your left foot in, turn your right foot out. Lift your arms parallel to the floor. Bend your right knee, sink down. Look out over your right hand arm. Lift your chest, stretch your spine. Line up the root of your second toe with the middle of your ankle. Make sure both hands, arms and shoulders are in line. Draw your right buttock underneath. Press your left hip back. And pivot to the back of the mat. Right foot in, left foot out. Bend your front knee, sink down. Be careful not to lean out over your front knee. Press down, stand up. Coming into wide leg forward fold, lower your arms. Place your hands on the floor under your shoulders, lift your head, look up. Make sure the root of your second toe is pointing directly towards the middle of your ankle. Engage your core, gaze straight ahead. You're on the tips of your fingers in this case, fingers spread wide apart. Melt your heart, arms straight. Squeeze your inner shins, your inner thighs towards each other. From here, moving into Trikonasana, and you might like to grab a block. I have my block here. Or simply get a book. Lift your arms parallel to the floor. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, lean out over your right leg and place your hand on the block or on the floor. Lift your top arm up to vertical. Engage your quads. Roll your left hip back. Draw your right buttock underneath. And press down and stand up and switch to the other end of the mat. Turn your right foot in, turn your left foot out. Place your block. Lift your arms parallel to the floor. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, lean forward, place your hand on the block, lift your top arm up to vertical. From where I'm in this pose, the setting sun in Glenhorgel is shining directly at me. It's absolutely beautiful. And press down and stand up. And place your block off to one side. And step your feet together. From here we proceed to reverse mudra. Again, it's a good opportunity to use your blocks. See your blocks as extensions to your arms and your feet as opposed to being props, as a lot of people are fond of calling them. Yoga is available for everyone, but not every yoga pose suits everybody's body. But there's a little bit of every yoga pose that every person can do. And should you just be sitting on a chair watching this, by even just lifting an arm overhead, you begin to participate in yoga. So make yoga happen for you. Okay, reverse mudra. So take your blocks and put them at the front of the mat. And then standing halfway back, lift your arms up, step forward with your right foot, keep your back heel off the floor and turn your back foot out slightly so your back toes are pointing sort of towards the corner of your mat, the outside edge of your mat. Inhale, stretch up, exhale, hinge forward, place your hands on the blocks, lift your head, look up. Draw your right hip back, engage your core, melt your heart, hands on your shoulders. Squeeze back hip, front inner thigh towards each other. And press down and stand up, step your feet together. And move into the other side, lift your arms up, Step forward with your left foot, back heel on the floor, turn your back toes out slightly. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, hinge forward. Place your hands on the blocks. Squeeze your back hip, front inner thigh towards each other, engage your quads. And step your feet together. Move one block up towards the right hand corner of your mat and move the other one off. We're moving into half moon Ardha Chandrasana. So walking towards the back of your mat, lift your right arm up, step forward with your right foot, bend your right knee, lean forward, place your hand on the block, lift your back leg out behind you, turn the outside edge of your foot up towards the ceiling. More doable, keep your hand here in your hip. More difficult, lift your arm up. And then invite your eyes to travel along the floor and gaze away from yourself. Engage the quad of the standing leg. Engage the quads of both legs actually. And release. And switch the block to the other side. Stand back again. Place your right hand on your hip. Lift your left arm up, step forward with your left foot, bend your left knee, lean forward, place your hand on the block, lift your back leg out behind you, turn the outside edge of your foot up towards the ceiling, lift your right arm up, walk your eyes along the floor and gaze away from you. Make your back heel active by pushing through it. Engage the quads of both legs. Engage your biceps. And release down. Moving into Warrior 3, we'll use the blocks once more. And put them on the highest setting here. Walking to the back of your mat. Lift your arms up and step forward with your right foot. Bend your right knee, lean forward, place your hands on the blocks. Maybe a bit high, just make them a little bit lower. Point your back knee at the floor, lift your head, look up. Engage your quad, the right leg. Lower that leg to the floor, stand up. Feel the sensations in both feet, feel the difference between them. Step back with your right foot, inhale, lift your arms up. Step forward with your left foot, bend your left knee. Place your hands on the blocks, lean forward, lift your head, look up. Point your back knee at the floor and make the horizontal plane of your buttocks horizontal. Don't have one really high like this. So you're flattening across, so you've got to drop your right hip to make that happen. And gently release to the floor. Press down, stand up. Pop your blocks off to one side. And coming into power pose, feet hip width apart. Lift your hip, arms overhead, hands shoulder width apart. Brushing your arms off your ears, bend your knees, sink down. Engage your core. Pushing down into your ankles, keeping your back straight. Knees in line with hips. Inhale, press down, stand up. Make your way down to your mat and come and lie on your back. Moving into reclined cow face. Cross your right thigh over your left thigh. Bring both knees into your chest. And you can clasp the outside edges of your feet with your hands, or you can grab your knees and hold them in to yourself. So whichever you choose to do today. Press your lower back into the floor. Invite your shoulder blades to come onto your back. Lift your chin out of your chest and press your head into the floor. And gently release. And then switch to the other side. Lift feet off the floor. Cross left leg over right. Hug knees in. Make both feet active. Press your lower back into the floor. Shins parallel to the ceiling. And release. Moving into reclined eagle. Again, bring both knees in. Cross your right leg over your left leg and see if you can take the double wrap. And then lift your left arm and wrap the right underneath and hug the midline. Or back of hand to back of hand is fine. Keeping that, lift your elbows up so that your forearms are parallel to the ceiling. Draw your knees in closer to you. Make both feet active. Hug the midline. And release and switch to the other side. Cross your left leg over your right leg. If you can take the double wrap, take the double wrap. Lift your right arm and wrap the left underneath. And again, hug the midline. Or simply bring elbows together and palms of hands together. Lift your elbows up and forearms parallel to the ceiling. So yogi's choice again. Keeping all that, bring your knees closer into your chest. And release. And release to the floor. Move into thread the needle. Lift your right foot. Place the outside edge of it on top of your left knee. This may be as far as you go today. Or bring your knee into your chest. Slip your hands between your legs and catch your knee. Shins parallel to the ceiling. Making both feet active by pushing your heels away, drawing your toes back. Press your lower back into the floor. Invite your shoulder blades to come onto your back. Press your head into the floor. Lift your chin out of your chest. Keep pressing your lower back down. And switch to the other side. Lift your left foot. Place the outside edge of it on top of your right knee. And then lift your right foot. Either stay here, more doable or more difficult. Lift your right foot off the floor. Bring your knee into your chest. Make both feet active. Press your lower back into the floor. And release down to the floor. Placing both feet on the floor, arms by your sides. Just feel the sensations in your body and how they differ from perhaps when you came to your mat earlier this evening. Roll over onto your bellies, moving into half frog. Bring your left forearm across the front of your body. Bend your right knee, clasp your ankle with your right hand, and if you can, pivot your right hand on top of your right foot, or just simply clasp your ankle. Press the top of the left foot into the floor, flare your toes, lift your knee off the floor, lift your head and chest up. And switch to the other side. Right forearm on the floor, bend your left knee, clasp your foot, and place your hand on top of your toes and pivot your fingers towards the front of the mat. Or simply grab your ankle, press the top of your right foot into the floor, lift your knee off the floor. Stretch from your hips to under your armpits. release, and make your way to standing. Moving into dancing yogi, of which we have been well prepared for by half frog. I think the best way to do this is to face you. Lift your left arm out in front and invite the shoulder to come back deep into the socket. Bend your right knee, clasp your ankle with your right hand and bring your heel into your hip. Squeeze your knees together. Keeping that, lift your head and chest and use your leg to lift your leg. Kick your heel up and back and gaze out in front. Steady the standing leg. Gently release and switch to the other side. Stretch your right arm out in front, invite the head of the arm bone to come back into the shoulder socket. Bend your left knee, lift it and clasp your ankle with your left hand. Find your place of balance. Stay here, maybe as far as you go. Or inhale, kick your leg up and back. Look out beyond your hand, arm, straighten, strengthen the standing leg. Inhale, come back to center and release down. And just feel the sensations in your feet, in your hips. Move to the back of your mat, come into forward fold. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, hinge forward, bend your knees, line up your fingernails with your toenails, allow your head to drop. Press the heel of your hands into the floor, squeeze your inner shins, your inner thighs towards each other. More doable, slight bend in the knees. More difficult, begin to press the backs of your knees away from you. From here, walk your hands forward to down dog. Hands wider than shoulders. Grip the floor with your fingertips. Externally rotate your upper arms. Look at a point between your thumbs. Lift your hips, engage your core. Squeeze your inner heels, your inner shins towards each other. Melt your heart. And come and sit with your legs out in front of you and moving into east stretch. Place your hands behind you, turn them out 45 degrees. Inhale, lift your hips off the floor, bring your toes to the floor and press your knees down. And gently release. Coming into west stretch with your knees bent. Clasp the outside edges of your feet with your hands. Walk your feet forward slightly. Turn your toes up. Engage your core. Be as upright as possible. Gently release. Come and lie down on your mat, on your backs and make your way into double diamond. Bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips. Walk your feet out to the long edges of the mat until you can just touch the edge of your mat on either side with your feet. Place your arms in goalpost arms behind you, turned up with your palms on the floor and your elbows bent, and allow your knees to come down to the right hand side. At this point, lift your head off the floor, look away from your knees, place your head back on the floor and just let go. Just notice if you're holding any tension in anywhere in your body, particularly that top leg. You could be holding it up a little bit. Just let it go. Allow gravity to take you down. And switch to the other side. Allow your knees to come back to centre and go all the way over. And again, looking away from your knees. Relax, release, let go. Move from here into happy baby. Bring your knees back to centre. Bring both knees into your chest. Clasp the outside edge of both feet with your hands. Separate your heels wider than your shoulders, your knees wider than your shoulders. Shins vertical. Draw down on the soles of your feet with your hands. Press up with your feet into your hands. So it's a drawing down, pushing up action. Keeping all that, press your lower back into the floor. Invite your shoulder blades onto your back. Invite your knees to come as close to the floor at the sides of your body as you can. And release your feet and bring both knees into your chest and give yourself the most delicious, loving, divine hug. And it is time to prepare for relaxation. So you might like to get a blanket, get an eye pillow. I'm inviting you to stretch out on your mat for the next 5 minutes. Cover yourself with your blanket, with your eye pillow, and moving into total relaxation. Begin to deepen your breathing. Come back into your body and onto the mat. Start to awaken your body by moving your hands, your feet, perhaps giving yourself a little stretch. And now bend your knees, roll gently to one side, and if you wish to take a moment there, stay there, or make your way up to sitting. Bring your hands together, close your eyes, turn in one last time. To honour ourselves, each other, and the practice. We close with one Om. Exhale, inhale. And remember, it is absolutely possible to move from mere surviving, the contraction of that, to the abundance of thriving and the expansion of that. Thanks for practicing, thanks for coming to practice, and see you on the mat.